Denny and good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome to Denny and Virginie the podcast. Yes, it is once again Denny and Virginie the podcast. It has been a minute, you guys. I am out of practice. I'm not gonna lie, I'm also tired, but we are here once again for another lively episode of Denny and Virginie the podcast. Got to remember to smile because I don't know how to podcast properly. So one day we're gonna get this down packed, but today is probably not gonna be the day. Anyway, welcome to Denny and Virginie, the podcast in which I just ramble about random stuff until I can figure out what I'm doing with this podcast. I hope it was actually live because my timer just started. But either way, welcome to Denny and Virginie, the podcast. On today's episode, as you can see right here, it is about libraries. So today's episode is actually about libraries because I accidentally ended up being on a library kick this week. Um, Sorry about that. Noises with my mouth. Anyway, I ended up being on a library kick this week accidentally because it just started. I just went to one library and then the following day I jumped to another library. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just finish the circuit and hit up all the libraries in Chesapeake, the peak of excellence. So that is exactly what I did. So I basically hit up all of the libraries, public libraries here in the peak of excellence in Chesapeake, Virginia. And I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of thoughts about it because, yeah, it was actually just a cool, just like series to do in which like I have an end goal of like hitting everything, and so now I have more of a well-rounded view as to what our libraries are all about here in the peak of excellence. But this goes beyond the peak of excellence, obviously, because libraries are everywhere in the world, but especially here in the great state of VA. So I'm just going to give you my perspective from all the libraries that I went to in Chesapeake, but you please take it upon yourself to do your own research, do your own experimentation, do your own adventures, and explore your own personal local libraries so that you can find out which ones are your favorite and which ones might not be your vibe. So one thing about libraries that I realized this week is that they all essentially contain the same things, but at the same time kind of no, right? I would say not all libraries are created equal. Not all libraries are created equal. There's like certain like just a certain bit of like standard stuff that they all have. Obviously, books, DVDs, movies, games, puzzles, stuff like that, where it's all like regulated and stuff. But like little nuances, little different nuances, like differentiate one library from the other. So just because like all of the libraries that I went to were in Chesapeake does not mean that I liked all of them the same. Because like you kind of have your own certain vibe, right? And then once you have that vibe, it's like you know when you like this, right? And you know when you like this. So sometimes I was more like this, and other times I was more like, eh. I'm not gonna tell you which one is my favorite and which one's my least favorite, but my favorite is Russell Memorial Library, which is currently closing. It's not gonna reopen until 2025. That's probably kind of why I did this because I miss my home base. But anyway, I'm not gonna tell you my least favorite because a library is a library is a library is a library. They're going to do their job no matter what they are, no matter where they are. A library does a good job. It's a wonderful service for wherever you are, whatever city you are from. Having a library is just a blessing because it is so jam packed with knowledge. It's so jam packed with adventure. It's so jam packed with learning and education and programs and events and all that stuff. And I didn't even dive deep into the actual programming that libraries had. I was just hopping around just to see what the libraries look like and to get some of my own personal work done. But yeah, libraries have all sorts of events throughout the month. Like they'll have just multiple events. They have loads and loads and loads and loads. I'll admit they're very biased towards children. Loads and loads and loads of family friendly, children oriented events. Sometimes they do teenager events, sometimes they do adult events, but admittedly, the adult events are a little boring in my opinion. Sometimes they have some events for adults that are a little more like, yeah, we can do things. But a lot of times the adult events, I'm not gonna lie, are like business, find a job, learn about financial literacy, get educated, learn a skill. And so I will admit that's one constructive bit of criticism that I might have for libraries in the future for this area is that maybe up your game for adult events because it's like I like to play the Wii. Like, why do the kids get the Wii? I don't understand why I don't get the Wii. I like Just Dance just as much as them kids like Just Dance, but I don't necessarily want to be with a bunch of families that have a bunch of 3-year-olds and 10-year-olds running around, and they're enjoying their like children's time when I don't have a child, but I still just want to play this game. And I'm not gonna play this game with this kid. I'm not gonna play this game with this kid because I'm gonna crush them. They're gonna cry because I be playing Just Dance. So it's like that's one constructive bit of criticism that I took away from this whole journey is that I probably would enjoy libraries a bit more when it comes to the event side of things if they had more events that were actually catered to adults that did not involve business, professionalism, learn things, learn a skill. It was more centered around just adults having fun together as opposed to like, you're there for to get a resource. So that's just one thing that I learned this week is that I would probably spend more time at the library doing their actual event stuff if there were more adult-centered events for adults like me. I don't have any kids, and even if you have kids, sometimes you just want to, escape and have like nice, clean, safe fun. That's what I want. Clean, safe fun. I'm not someone who goes clubbing. I don't go clubbing. If that's you, you do you, boo, but that's not me. I don't drink a lot. I mean, I can drink, but I don't like to drink. And so I just want to have a super safe environment where I feel safe to be silly, you know, and we're doing something that's safe and fun and it's like appropriate for adults. But it's like, but we can be silly, at the same time. So like I said, Just Dance, like playing Just Dance would be super, super fun if they just had a Just Dance nights just for adults. And like that means it's at the library. So that doesn't mean, how adult only typically sounds a certain type of way. No, it's at a library. So it's going to be super clean, super awesome. So that's my constructive criticism from the research I conducted this week by going to different libraries. Another thing is that, like I said, not all libraries are the same. And so certain libraries I found had a lot more study rooms available. Like, for example, Central Library in Chesapeake, what I would say is the biggest library, had a solid 2 levels and loads of study rooms. Lots of space to study, lots of different spaces to read. Gigantic kids area for the kids to be in that's like completely separated from everything else, a big old teenage area. It was just like a lot of wide open space and a lot of space to study. And they even had like a Virginia room, which local history room, which I was like, that's dope. That is awesome. And I definitely have to spend a lot more time in there because I need to know more about Virginia history. I can't be Denny in Virginia and not know anything about Virginia history. Even though I don't like history, it's still just like exciting to know that there's a whole room that's just chock full of Virginia history at the Central Library. So that's probably why I would put that as my number 2 favorite library in Chesapeake, simply because they are the only one that has that. Oh, I mean, maybe not. I think they're the only one that has a whole memorial room dedicated to Virginia history, Chesapeake history. And they even have like a bunch of high school yearbooks from all the Chesapeake high schools. In case you were wondering, in case you didn't actually get your high school yearbook, and you never got one for any reason, you could go there and they might have your year's high school yearbook. That was super interesting to find out. I was like, that's kind of weird. But like, I mean, history. So we have local historians. We need more of them. So anyway, yeah, that was my adventure there. What else? What else have I taken away from libraries this week? Let's see. Let's see. Like I said, some of them have more amenities than others, and some of them have just a completely different vibe. Like I'll say for some, I can't fully place it, but the Indian River Library in Chesapeake was giving a completely different vibe than the rest of them. I think it's because the shelves that the books and DVDs and CDs were on were like all lower and wooden. So they looked more regal, I guess. But it was also super organized. So it was like I knew exactly this section was biographies. This section is DVDs. This section is CDs, which you think would be common sense, but I would say it was not as organized or as transparent depending on which library I was at. So I would say Indian River was very, very well organized, very well labeled. So it's like for example, when I went to one of the libraries, I was looking for a biographical book and I couldn't find any number or anywhere. It just said go to biographies, and I didn't see anything that was labeled biographies or autobiographies anywhere. So I went to the desk and they were like, "Oh, it's back there by the wall." And it wasn't by the wall, and it also wasn't labeled. I did find it, but I was like, okay, well, if this was labeled, maybe I'd be able to find it, but this is just not the best system to be able to find stuff. So, like I said, I wouldn't have had that problem at Indian River Library because I noticed that the section was very clearly labeled. And everything was also at like eye level. So everything was like open. So I would say Indian River gets like a special shout out just because they were just given a different vibe because their shelves were all wooden and lower. There wasn't, how library shelves can be like flipping huge and just stacks on stacks on stacks of books. Indian River, everything was like below or at my head level. And so, like I said, it was just given a completely different vibe. But yeah, that's what I learned about the Indian River Library, and I noted that. So I'm definitely going to go back to that one because it was very clean and very well organized. So if I wanted a book, it would be very easy for me to find it. What else? What else? So I just wanted to, by doing this whole library thing this week, I just wanted to just shine the light on libraries because a lot of times as adults, we forget that we can go to the library and that the library is not just for kids. I would say what happened with me is that when I was in high school, I used to go to the library a lot, but I would just live in the YA section. I would just live in the young adult fiction section, and I would just read anything that was in the YA section. But as I transitioned to an adult, I stopped going to the library for a bit, probably during college. And then most recently, I'm just in love with the nonfiction center. The nonfiction section, which I thought was just boring adult literature, facts and science and math, boring adult stuff, how to business, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's super interesting over there. Go to the nonfiction section if you were an adult and just like explore the world because you can learn so much at the library at the nonfiction section alone. If you just like peruse just the biography section and look at some biographies and autobiographies of super successful, inspirational, motivational, and impactful people, you can learn so much. And it's just something hits different, especially with the autobiographies about hearing about the same event that you learned about in high school and hearing it from the perspective of someone who actually lived through it. There's just something just hits different. And not just the biography section, but like for me, I'm really into personal development and business stuff right now. So it's like there's so many books that I could have gotten for free. I wish I had realized, duh, the library has books and stuff. And not only do they have books, they have ebooks, they have the Libby app, they have the Hoopla app. So not only if you can't find a physical book there, you can probably find it on one of the apps that you can access for free. It has loads and loads and loads of books in there. So that's very exciting to me. So it's like for those of you who are on a personal development journey or you're interested in a specific subject, I would tell you if you need books for it, do not buy them on your own first. Okay. Especially if like you don't really have the money to be wasting on something that you don't even know. Maybe you just want to dabble on it. Go to the library and see if they have a section of whatever subject that you're interested in researching, or if they have the specific book that you need. And if they don't have a physical copy, what you can do is you can check the Libby app, you can check the Hoopla app and see if they have maybe an ebook or an audiobook copy of it. And that way you can just like get it for free and you can say, okay, maybe I like this, maybe that's not going to be my thing. But you don't have to waste your own money on making your own library collection with books that you don't even know if you're genuinely going to like or finish. So that's one great thing about the libraries is that because they're so chock full of books, as an adult, you have to remember you don't have to necessarily go to Amazon. You don't have to go to a bookstore, Barnes and Noble. Although those resources are awesome, books are awesome, but it's like a lot of times we just impulse buy stuff and you don't really want the book. So it's like the library is just a good place to test to see, hey, do I really want this or not? Like, is it really going to help me or not? And if it really does help you, then you can buy it. But like the library is just a good like free place to just test and see what do I like, what do I need, do I actually need this as a good book? Is this a good book or not? Like, so you got to feel basically make your own opinion on the book. What else? What else is there? Like I said, the library is actually a resource center. So I don't know if you guys know, but the library has like things that you can check out, not just books and DVDs and music. You can check out like things. So they have this thing called like an adventure pack or something. And so what that does is it gives you like free access to state parks, I believe. I haven't tested this out myself, but I saw it on their library of things on the website that I put in the description for Chesapeake, the city of Chesapeake. But yeah, it's like an adventure pack and it gives you free access to state parks. For those of you who have never been to a state park before, typically you have to pay for parking at the state parks. But this it's free. It's free entry to get to the state parks. They also like I saw up there that you can like get a keyboard apparently. You can just get a keyboard from the library. I think Dr. Cuffy's library has started renting out their cricket machine and not renting, but like loaning out their cricket machine and their sewing machine. As long as you have to take classes to know how to use it, they're not just gonna let you just like try it and then break it. You have to take tutorials and classes to know how to use the thing properly, and then they'll let you check it out. So it's like if you're interested in learning how to sew, but you might not have the means to actually get a really good machine yourself, you can go to the library and you can actually check out a sewing machine. You can learn how to sew there, and then once you get good enough, you can take it out yourself. So that's just super dope. And I never knew that you could do that. I don't know how recent of a change that is, but it's just super awesome that we have the resources to be able to explore. For example, the Dr. Clarence V. Cuffy Library Innovation Library is more of a creative space and less of a like booky library. And so they have this whole room that has like video equipment and you can make like a legit looking podcast. It's like when I say video equipment, I don't just mean a tripod and you bring your own phone or camera. I mean, there's a 3 camera setup. There's a dashboard, there's a soundboard, and you're like in control, flipping between the cameras. It's legit. And I'm like, this is too real for me. And so I'm taking classes every Monday now over there to learn how to use that equipment because it's like it's free to use. You just have to learn how to use it. Someone has to be with you in the room because they're not just gonna let you go crazy. Because the controls were overwhelming to me because it was legit. It was so legit looking. 3 camera setup, super professional, and they got the Adobe stuff like Photoshop, Premiere Pro, or whatever, all that stuff in a computer for you to use yourself. You can edit stuff over there as well. So if you can't afford like Adobe Photoshop or the Adobe programs, it's all on the computer in the back and you just do everything in-house and you can save it and take it with you. But it's just like we have all these resources here and we don't even utilize it. For Pete's sake, I feel like I saw that you can take out a metal detector. You can learn how to use and take out a metal detector, I think, from the library. Isn't that insane? I don't It just makes me so excited. Like we have so many resources here. It's crazy. So yeah, that was like the gist of what I learned during my library circuit this week, hopping around from all the different libraries in Chesapeake. So I'm not going to give you my least favorite library because like I said, all libraries are good libraries. At the end of the day, they're a wonderful source, a wonderful resource for the people here, the Virginianites here in Virginia. But I would say my personal favorite library is actually closed until next year. My favorite library was always Russell Memorial Library. There's something about it. I'm not going to tell. It's not the most tech savvy library. It's not the biggest library. It's only 1 floor, but there was just something so homey and special and warm about it, and I miss it so much. But that was my favorite library, unfortunately. But fortunately, they are closed until next year, 2025, for renovations. So they're going to come back stronger and bigger and better than ever, but I do miss them. And so that's probably why I started the circuit, to fill that hole of like, I can't go to my library anymore. My library's gone. But it'll come back next year. But until then, I'll continue going to different libraries. I probably will frequent the Central Library the most just because, like I said, they got a whole room dedicated to just Virginia, Virginia, Virginia. A whole room of Virginia history and facts and cool stuff. And I'm not a history buff, but I definitely need to be as Denny and Virginie so I can teach you guys some stuff about VA as I learn stuff about VA because I'm very ignorant and I will be the first to tell you I don't know nothing. You're gonna ask me questions, I don't know nothing about VA. So I gotta up my game, and as I up my game, I'm gonna showcase it to you guys, hopefully in a very entertaining and funny way. But yeah, I'm super excited about this journey and I'm excited to actually tell you guys more as I actually utilize the different resources of the library. So if I get a keyboard, for example, I'll show you guys like I got a keyboard from the library. If I actually do master that video room at the one library, I'll give you guys a little tour of that room and like tell you guys this is what they taught me. Like I learned a whole new skill thanks to the library for free just for living here in the great state of VA. That is fantastic. So I didn't really have too much of a plan for this whole thing, but I'll tell you guys, I'll end with my second favorite library is the Central Library, like I said, because of the whole Virginia room that I need to explore and you need to explore. And I will leave you with, please, please, please explore your local libraries. Even if you are an adult, it is for you as well. There's so many resources in there. You don't even have to physically be there to take advantage of the resources that they have. It's the resources online as well. I didn't even cover all the stuff that they have available online. They have language resources for you. They got Pimsleur. Like that Pimsleur, like that language Pimsleur. They got Pimsleur available online via the Libby app. They got the Hoopla app. So if you can't find it on Libby, you can probably find it on Hoopla. Ebooks, audiobooks for free, 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 just for living here in the great, great state of VA. So please, 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 I hope I inspired you to take a chance, or not take a chance, but like go to your local library if you don't already. And if you do, great for you, because like you are learning so much. You are taking advantage of a resource that is just truly wonderful and beautiful. And I love it, love it, love it. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful, beautiful, fantastic day. And that is it for this episode of Denny and Virginie the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, it is yet another beautiful day here in VA. So until next time, Denny out.